The Ventral Feeding Pathway of Paramecium, Part B. Much of the ventral feeding pathway can be distinguished by the ciliary activity denoted along the dotted red line. And similarly, in this video, in which the coarseness of some of the cilia deep in the buccal cavity becomes quite noticeable. Proceeding anteroposteriorly, the initial distinguishing feature of the ventral feeding pathway of the paramecium is the oral groove, here outlined with a pair of red ellipses. The oral groove is a concavity which extends somewhat more than halfway down the ventral midline of the organism. Its surface is covered with numerous cilia, which direct flow into the buccal cavity. These cilia are known as the preoral cilia. The V-shaped arch seen here is the entrance to the buccal cavity. The buccal cavity is a tubular structure, perhaps distantly suggestive of or analogous to an esophagus. It empties into a sphere-shaped forming food vacuole. Filled food vacuoles are released from their attachment to the distal end of the buccal apparatus and become involved in a circulatory path in the cell cytoplasm. In this illustration, the preoral ciliary field is colored in yellow, and the buccal ciliary fields, which include the quadrilis and the paniculi, are colored in blue. Note the metachronously synchronized wave-like motion of the preoral cilia and the rapid motions of the coarse cilia deep in the buccal cavity. The dark dot-like objects deep in the plane of the buccal cavity are apparently kinetosomal bases. The continually powerful movements of the buccal ciliary groups maintain one-way flow of particles into the forming food vacuole. This observation is documented from several perspectives in this video and others to follow. The buccal cavity is here colored or outlined in red. Note the coarse cilia in the buccal cavity in the diagram on the viewer's right. These are intended to depict the quadrilis and the paniculi. The food vacuoles are outlined in yellow. Note the powerful activities of the cytopharyngeal cilia. This video, reduced to 1/4 speed, allows the viewer to follow a particle in the flow of the feeding pathway from the fluid external to the organism to the distal end of the buccal cavity. It is placed on a loop in order that it may be viewed twice. The dotted red circle outlines the forming food vacuole at the distal end of the buccal cavity.
Note that the particles which have been swept into the postpharyngeal sac by the action of the pharyngeal cilia are in continuous circular motion. Eventually, the sac will be filled and pinched off as a cytoplasmic food vacuole.
The end oral kinete is a small, independent group of cilia at the proximal end of the cytostome.
The end oral kinete is a row of cilia located at the proximal end of the buccal cavity near its entrance. Note that the cilia are a small group and that they function actively and spontaneously.
This fine diagram from Wichterman's excellent text on Paramecium is used here by way of introduction and orientation for the videos to follow. The three ciliary membranelles of the buccal cavity of Paramecium are the quadrilis and the paniculi. Each contains 4 rows of cilia. The dorsal and ventral paniculi are located laterally and are closely compacted, giving them the light microscopic appearance of bands or strips. The ciliary rows of the paniculi do not uniformly extend to the distal end of the buccal cavity, but rather some are cumulatively truncated distally along their path. The quadrilis is located along the medial aspect of the cytopharynx and extends over the full length of the buccal cavity. The quadrilis has 4 rows of somewhat coarse appearing cilia, more loosely packed than those of the paniculi. The cilia of the quadrilis are largely visible by light microscopy because of the prominence of their highly active, agitated appearing motion, which at times overshadows and obscures the view of the paniculi. At low magnification, the loosely sigmoidal shape of the buccal cavity can be seen, as can the activity of the cilia within. In this video and those to follow, the strip-like appearance of the paniculi and the strong and independent activity of the buccal cilia overall can be observed from several perspectives.